What's everybody? It's time for Monday Night Quarterback. We do it right here on the BamaInsider YouTube channel, part of the On3 Network. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Share it. Tell your friends about it. We're going to talk about Alabama. We've got another week, and then it's game week, and then it's opening day. Alabama and Utah State at Bryant-Denny Stadium. We're going to cover all of that, including the latest news, recruiting, and all that on the show tonight, brought to you by Westgate Luxury Condominiums right there next to Bryant-Denny Stadium. I mean, literally a field goal kick away, the oversized balconies, the Skygate Club, which is where we hang out on game days, and much more. 1 to 5 bedroom units available. So if you want to rent, you want to buy, you're looking for an investment, you need to check it out, westgateal.com. On Monday Night Quarterback, it's always great to talk to our buddy Clint Lamb. You can follow him on Twitter at Clint R. Lamb. What's up, bro? How you been?
Man, Mick, I'm fantastic. How you doing, man? We're getting closer to football season. The closer we get, the more excited I get. So life's pretty good right now.
It's exciting. Like, this is as exciting as it gets just because every team's good right now, right? I mean, it's not like just Alabama or, just like no one's lost. No one's won, but no one's lost. And, talk about wide receiver. Sorry, I must have bowed out there for a second. You cover the team on a daily basis, Clint. Let's talk wide receivers and Bryce Young. Has anyone stepped up as far as Bryce Young kind of feeling comfortable with that connection and your overall take of the wideout spot?
Yeah, it's really interesting because we've got a couple of guys who we've seen emerge that we really weren't expecting. Trayshawn Holden, to some degree, we knew he was going to be involved in that conversation, but kind of coming in when you looked at, Jermaine Burton and JoJo Earle and Ja'Cory Brooks. And then you also had Tyler Harrell coming in, who a lot of people thought was going to be, one of those, if he wasn't a starting receiver, he was going to be that kind of number 4 guy, the first guy off the bench that was used for a very specific reason. A lot of people didn't really think that Trayshawn was going to be super heavily involved. It's still, it's still fall camp. We're still not certain that he's going to be, but at the same time, he's clearly trending in the right direction. He had a phenomenal scrimmage. First of all, he had a good scrimmage the first time around. And then on Saturday, put up close to 200 yards receiving, had 3 touchdowns. All 3 of those touchdowns were, one was from 40 plus, 50 plus, and then 70 plus. And, some of that action was against the first team defense. A lot of it was against the second team defense, and that should be noted. But he had a heck of a scrimmage. I think right now, with Nick Saban wanting a lot of the receivers and quarterbacks to get on the same page, the guys who are going to be playing and participating on Saturday, he wants the quarterbacks, pretty much Bryce Young, to be able to get comfortable and build some more chemistry with those guys. During this time, I think it's very important that a guy like Trayshawn Holden exists because there already is that comfortability and that familiarity between those two players. And we've talked about that before. He's been he's been the only constant dating back to when Bryce Young became the starting quarterback. And so, I think that's really benefiting him. And I really think it's benefiting Bryce Young as well. So he's certainly one of them. He's a big body guy. I think right now his size is needed because Alabama doesn't have Cameron Latou. So they don't really have that receiving threat at the tight end position. And so they're looking for somebody maybe with some size who can do some things in the red zone. And I think Trayshawn Holden certainly offers some of that. But also, you got Kobe Prentice, the true freshman, who I don't think, I really liked him coming out of high school. And he was probably my second favorite receiver that Alabama signed. But if you would ask me, is he going to contribute early? I would have said no. I just rattled off several names, 5. And then you also had Aaron Anderson and Christian Leary, who we both thought, both those guys were going to be contributing to some degree as well. I just didn't think there would be too many opportunities for Prentice. And what happens? Some guys get hurt. Opportunities come available, and he's taking full advantage of those opportunities. And now, he's working with the first team offense. He's doing some good things. And, I said last week following his 5-catch first scrimmage performance that he would need to build on that and continue to show improvement and prove right now before some of these guys start coming back that he can be that guy and can be consistent and relied on, based on what we saw in scrimmage 2 or what we heard from scrimmage 2. He's doing a pretty good job of staying in position as well. So I really think he's going to contribute, on Saturdays this fall.
Talking to Clint Lamb on Monday Night Quarterback. Let me remind you guys, we love seeing you in the comment section. RollTide LW, thank you for throwing the shout out. Always good to hear from Always Believe in Alabama. He says, what's up? All of you guys, man, throw your comments in there. We're paying attention to them. And again, like, subscribe, and share as we talk Alabama football here on Monday Night Quarterback. And I know you guys are going to want to get into recruiting. Don't worry about that. Joseph Hastings is coming up. He's going to talk about all the latest news, and I know that means one more guy in the Nick Saban Alabama basket for this next recruiting class. But let's keep talking about this Alabama team. We got a football game coming up, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, and Clint has been keeping his ear to the ground on this team. So, Clint, the offensive line, right? What's going on there? It's like Nick Saban was really happy, said, with the first team, hearing maybe that there's some movement going on. Your latest on the O-line.
That's another position that's really interesting because, if you would have asked me, who were the locks, the quote unquote locks on Alabama's offensive line heading into fall camp, I would have only given you two, and that would have been Emil Ekiyor Jr., which he's certainly trending in that direction to be a starter. But the other one would have been Javian Cohen. And he is not trending towards starting. Now, I don't know. A lot can happen. There's still some time left before the first game, but through two scrimmages, the only two scrimmages that Alabama was going to hold during fall camp, Javian Cohen was working, with the second team a lot. And Kendall Randolph, who had been working at left tackle and kind of battling it out with Amari Kite back in the spring, he kicks inside to left guard, and he's been running with the first team offense. And so that really has created a lot of interesting conversation because it's not something that we were expecting. It was the center battle. It was, maybe a battle happening at right tackle, even though everybody thought J.C. Latham was going to be that guy. No one thought that was a sure thing, but he was, obviously positioned pretty well going into fall camp. But then it was left tackle with Tyler Stein. And would it be Kendall Randolph? Would it be Amari Kite? Or could Stein come in and take that job, which everybody expected Stein to? And that's kind of working out how we had planned or had thought it would be, it would go. But now you're looking at a situation where left guard has gotten some uncertainty and some questions, and people don't know, is it because Javian Cohen had to miss some time or spend some time away from the team dealing with some mental health issues? Maybe, when you're focusing a lot on your mental health, sometimes it's a little difficult to balance that and make sure you're maintaining your physical health. And so that, as far as working out and just the demands of playing, offensive line for the University of Alabama, maybe he's got some catching up to do there, and maybe he ends up back in the starting lineup before week one. Or maybe with Kendall Randolph being such an experienced player, a lot of that experience has come at tackle and tight end, but with him having so much experience in the program, being a sixth-year player, maybe he ends up being your left guard come week one. And that will be, pretty interesting if that ends up happening. I've been asked a ton. I know a lot of Alabama fans are concerned if that ends up being the case. And I think that probably, if I had to guess, I think that stems from, no offense to him, but I think that stems from Chris Owens last year, because he was a veteran guy, had been in Alabama, had played some, but had not been a full-time every game, every down starter. And he ends up getting inserted into the starting lineup. And, he was supposed to be the center. The last second he kicked over to right tackle, didn't have a great season. So I think a lot of people look at Kendall Randolph being that older player, hasn't been talented enough to get into the lineup consistently at the offensive line spot, any offensive line spot. And so now that he's going into year 6, I think he's kind of the forgotten guy. And people will say, if Alabama is forced to play him there, they're probably in trouble, because not only is he, an older player who hadn't been able to work into the lineup, he also spent pretty much the entire spring working at tackle, gets into fall camp doing the same thing, and then very quickly kicks inside the guard. It's a kind of similar situation to, Chris Owens. So I think people are concerned about that. I don't think they're the same player. I think, it is allowing Javian Cohen some time to get back comfortable. Maybe he did lose his job. Maybe he's still working on some other, I have no idea. I'm not going to speculate, but point being, for whatever reason, his, spot at left guard is in question. And so that's got people concerned. But the first team offensive line did phenomenal work in the scrimmage. They were going against the second team a lot of the times, but they looked pretty good, and Nick Saban was impressed. And if he's impressed, I think we should be too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What about McLaughlin?
Yeah, that's interesting as well, because that was the other spot, center going in, where if you would ask me, who do you think is going to start between Darian Dalcourt and Seth McLaughlin, I would say McLaughlin all day. I like Dalcourt, and I think that people need to understand that he did not play a lot of his football last year healthy. And so we still don't really know exactly how good this guy can be. The coaching staff has been high on him since he arrived on campus, several years ago, back in 2019. He just, he had guys in front of him. And then, when he finally got his chance, didn't exactly perform as well as some people had hoped, mostly because of, him being, being hindered or whatever you want to call it, being banged up a little bit. And that slowed down, how well he was able to perform. Now that he's healthy, I mean, he's trending towards being the starting center. It's not over. McLaughlin certainly is going to be, a valuable member of the offensive line, and he's going to stay involved in that competition. It hadn't been decided definitively one way or the other yet, but Dalcourt seems to be the guy right now. With McLaughlin having to miss the scrimmage, I think that set him back just a little bit more. It's not that big of a deal as one scrimmage. He's supposed to be back on Tuesday or tomorrow, so I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it is something that just played into Dalcourt's favor. Dalcourt was out there, and the offensive line performed extremely well. So that's a tally mark in his favor. If I had to guess right now, I would say he's going to be the week 1 starter.
All right. Talking about Alabama, Utah State, that's not this Saturday, but next Saturday. We do have football this Saturday. Guys, like and subscribe as we get you ready for Alabama football. Number 1 in both polls, the AP and the coaches poll. Number 1 in recruiting right now. We're going to talk more about that coming up with Joseph Hastings, including another commitment today. And we're talking with Clint Lamb right now about this Alabama team. Clint, one thing that Nick Saban has that, on occasion he'll get this, and that's a second-year offensive coordinator. It seems like they come in, they do a year, and then they leave. Your thoughts on Bill O'Brien? Is he going to be better this year than he was last year?
I think so. I think there's a lot playing in his favor. First of all, what people have to realize about Alabama's offense is that when they bring a guy in, it's still Alabama's offense. It's not that offensive coordinator's offense. Right. He's the one that's forced to make the adjustment to fit, what Alabama already has in place, not the other way around. And so you took Bill O'Brien, who was already making a big transition from the NFL game. He had been out of college for a while. He's making that transition, first of all. And then on top of that, you're also adding in him having to change a lot of what he likes to do, what he's comfortable doing. And so, I think he just was taken out of his comfort zone. And even a guy like Steve Sarkisian, we all consider him one of the best offensive minds in college football, in football, period. If you think back, when he left Alabama in 2016 after being the offensive coordinator for one game, which wasn't a great performance, by the way, but he takes over the play calling duties for the Atlanta Falcons. Shanahan had since left. Kyle Shanahan had since left to go be the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. And he had done some great things with Matt Ryan the year before. And so they wanted to make sure after Matt Ryan had pretty much a career year, they said, Steve, you're going to be playing to his strengths, not yours. In that first season, if you look back, Steve Sarkisian really struggled as their offensive coordinator. He was very uncomfortable adjusting what he liked to do and what he knew was best, to be an effective play caller. Plus, he was making that jump from college to the NFL as well. So that is a big adjustment. What works, what doesn't work. When you make that jump, the two games are very different. The two levels are very different. So what happened after that first year, Steve Sarkisian with Matt Ryan ended up having a much more successful year too. Was he perfect? No, but you saw a lot of improvement because he finally started, things started to click. And, I think that not only that, Alabama's offensive line last year it struggled so much, and it hindered what Alabama could do offensively. I don't think people realize how much Bill O'Brien's hands were tied behind his back. This is a guy against Texas A&M, and Alabama fans aren't going to forgive him, and I completely understand. But against Texas A&M, he throws the ball 3 times down there near the goal line. Mm-hmm. That should have told us everything that we needed to know about what he thought about Alabama's offensive line. It was such a problem. I don't think Steve Sarkisian, I don't think Brian DeBall, I don't think Mike Loxley, I don't think anybody was going to be able to have the same level of success that they had as Alabama's offensive coordinator had they been dealing with that offensive line. You saw a lot of RPOs early in drives, trying to get some stuff going. I didn't feel like Bill O'Brien was comfortable at all last year. And I still think, we did a pretty good job. So going into year 2, I expect a lot of improvement.
All right, Clint, last question before we talk recruiting with Joseph Hastings on Monday Night Quarterback, brought to you by Westgate Luxury Condominiums. Nick Saban called out the second team, or was it that he was saying that the first team was really good? I couldn't tell. It felt like to me he was a little bit concerned with the second team. Your thoughts on his comments talking about not the starters, but the second team, the guys that'll be doing a lot of filling in?
Well, what's the second team, right? It's the younger guys. It's the guys that you're developing. You've got third team too, and even some fourth team guys as well. So you definitely got that down at those levels, as well. But a lot of these guys who you're preparing to become the starters, they're on your second team, and they are guys that need to continue to get better for one reason or the other. I mean, if you look, even a Bryce Young led offense, there were some missing pieces on Alabama's offensive line back in the spring, but you put even a talent like Bryce Young behind those second team offensive linemen, and the offense in the 8A game struggled a lot because it's going against Alabama's defense. There's nobody that Alabama's offense is going to line up against this year, second team, first team, or either one, that is going to be the same caliber of player across the board as Alabama sees in practice every day. And just, during the scrimmage, it was the second team offense a lot going against the first team defense. Of course, they're going to get slaughtered. There's a lot of starting offenses in college football that are going to get slaughtered by this Alabama defense, especially the Alabama pass rush. And so, I think it was to be expected, but that doesn't mean that Nick Saban is going to give them an out or an excuse. It's a great way to say, hey, you got your teeth kicked in. You need to get better. And so I think that's the message he's trying to send. I don't think it should be concerning. And I think that a lot of these guys that maybe if you would have been able to watch the scrimmage, you would have watched them struggle. I think if they had to get put into a game right now, yeah, they might have, some struggles that continue to have some struggles. I'm not saying they would be perfect, but I think that they would look a lot better than probably they did against Alabama's defense. And then, the other way around, certainly as well. I mean, you got Bryce Young, you got a good offensive line, an offensive line that I think is going to be very improved. And, the second team defense is still working some stuff out. The starters are obviously really good. It's a pretty deep group, but it's not a complete, unit on the second team. So it's an area where you can, practice, improve, get better. And that's what Alabama's aiming for. It worked out perfect because I think it was a confidence booster for both the first team offense and the first team defense. And, as far as, guys that need to improve, you got to point some things on tape with those younger guys and say, hey, if you think you're close to being ready to contribute, you're not. You need to continue to put your head down and get better. So I think Nick Saban's got a plan behind everything. And I certainly think that this worked out to perfection.
All right, Clint, real quick before we move off to talk some recruiting, what are you working on right now and how can people follow you?
The typical, the Talk of Champions message board. That's where I pretty much live nowadays. That's the easiest way. Twitter, obviously, at Clint R. Lamb. You see it on the screen. Love interacting with people on there. Got a lot of stuff coming out this week as far as, questions that we still have about Alabama. Some of those younger guys that maybe we think are going to contribute. A lot of great content coming over the next few days. So certainly be on the lookout for that on BamaInsider. And I appreciate you having me on, Mick. This was fun.
Hey, let's do it again next Monday. Next Monday, the countdown's really here. It's game week.
100%. Can't wait. What a way to start game week than Monday Night Quarterback. I can't wait, man.
It's going to be great, man. Thank you so much. That's Clint Lamb. And guys, don't forget, you can read Clint Lamb's work and everyone's work for $1 right now. $1, not $1 for a month. I'm talking about $1 for the entire year. And that'll get you signed up for BamaInsider. Now with On3, you're talking about the best of the best are here, and we expect you guys to join us as well. So for a limited time, you can join for $1. Take advantage of that, and make sure you check out Clint's work. Monday Night Quarterbacks brought to you by Westgate Luxury Condominiums, right there next to Bryant-Denny Stadium. Find out more information at westgateal.com. All right, look, this is the star of the show today, right? That's what I'm bringing on Joseph Hastings because I know he's the star of the show because all you guys want to hear about is recruiting. And we're going to talk about your road trip and all the other stuff you've done. But, Joseph, you got to get right into the breaking news because it just happened and Alabama just continues to reach out there and bring in these blue chip recruits. Hey, check your sound. I can't. Can you hear him?
My apologies.
There you go.
Is everything good now?
Now we can hear you.
There we
Give
go.
us the
There we
breaking
go.
news.
Just a little minor difficulty there. But Alabama over an hour ago was able to land Edric Hill out of Missouri. This is a big time pickup for the Crimson Tide. Hill is one of the top defensive linemen in the 2023 class. According to On3's 2023 rankings, he's a number 103 prospect and number 16 defensive lineman in this cycle. And look, we've talked about it before. Alabama has had a couple of key misses along the defensive line in Peter Woods and Kelby Collins this summer. Getting somebody of Hill's caliber was absolutely crucial for the Crimson Tide in terms of generating some momentum along the D line. He joins a class that also features in-state prospect Hunter Osborne, and they're trying to continue that momentum into next month. As they try to land Jordan Renaud out of Tyler, Texas. They're also trying to go after in-state prospect James Smith. They're continuing to recruit Kelby and Peter as well, and they have several other out-of-state targets. So it was important to get Hill in the fold. It's important to note that Alabama's been recruiting Hill since November 2021. Him being a part of this class isn't a product of Collins and Woods deciding to commit elsewhere. He's been a target for the program. They got him on campus twice this year, including for an official visit in June. And Hill just ultimately decided that Alabama was the place for him to be, chose the Crimson Tide over the likes of Oklahoma, USC, Oregon, and others. So really good pickup for Freddie Roach and company.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And everyone was excited when he made his commitment today. All right, let's go back to what we were going to get into before that. And that's recapping you on the road. You hit the road this past week, and you're checking out some of Alabama's top recruits playing in their high school games.
Yeah, so you said next week is going to be game week, and that kind of gave me some chills. And I also had some chills last week when I was able to get out to the high school games. Just being able to be around football again, it means so much to me. And I had an opportunity to see multiple Alabama commitments. Starting on Friday, I saw Buford versus Thompson High School. With Buford, you have Justice Haynes, running back commit for Alabama. With Thompson, you have Tony Mitchell, 5-star defensive back commitment for the program. And I came away impressed by what I saw from both of them. Haynes started off a little bit slow. I think it was more so a product of him transferring to Buford from Blessed Trinity, which he had spent his first 3 years at. Had some trouble getting it going. Plus, Thompson's defensive line was swarming him at the line of scrimmage, and specifically in the first quarter. But he broke away for a nice 40-yard run in the second quarter, had a 96-yard kickoff return, had a 20-plus yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter, in which he evaded Mitchell in what was an excellent cutback that he had, an excellent juke move. He pretty much stopped his momentum as he was running up, bounced back left the yard, and then took off running left and then cut back right to the end zone. It just really shows off all of his strengths on that play, which is speed, balance, vision. He's just kind of from a physical standpoint, he's really put on a lot of muscle and has been able to, take on those hits that he was taking on and absorbing them and still be fresh for the fourth quarter. I think it also helps that Buford has a couple of other good running backs there in their room too. So I really liked what I saw from Haynes. And then as for Mitchell, when I first saw him, I had to actually ask his coach if that was him. He's put on some muscle over the off season. During the off season, he weighs 205 pounds, was still able to maintain that speed and cornerback-like coverage skills that he had. Primarily played at cornerback against Buford on either side of the field, and I really liked what I saw from him too. Switching over to the Saturday slate of games, I got to see Dylan Lonergan, one of 2 Alabama quarterback commits in this class, and then also 5-star defensive back Caleb Downs. With Lonergan, he had a little bit of a slow start as well, through an interception in the first half that he should have let his receiver out in front of threw it a little bit behind him. The defensive back jumped him, and then he also had a fumble, but he showed an ultimate gamer-like mentality, forgot all of those plays, all those mistakes that he had, bounced back, had a decent game statistically, 12 of 22 for 186 pass yards. He had a trio of touchdowns through the ground and through the air. I liked how he bounced back and the confidence and poise he showed despite the mistakes that he had. And then Caleb Downs. I mean, what more is there to say about Caleb Downs? I know he checks in as the number 13 player in the country in the On3 consensus, but I truly think he's a top 5 player. In my opinion, he's the number 1 overall prospect in the 2023 class. He can do it all. He had a 46-yard rushing touchdown. He had multiple receptions. He did kickoff and punt return duties. Oh yeah, on top of all that, he played his primary position of safety and on defense too, going around the field, taking snaps at cornerback, it's the safety in the single high safety look for Mill Creek, and then also in the box too. He can do it all. I was stunned once again by what he was able to do, even though I've seen him in person a few times. Just came away really impressed by him. He was the top overall performer, in my opinion, from the Alabama commits I got to see. But overall, just assessing the weekend, I like pretty much everything that I saw from the Crimson Tide commitments. Even when they made mistakes, they were able to bounce back. And, they're just four of what is, a spectacular Crimson Tide 21-man class right now that they're hoping to continue to add even more talent to.
You want to follow Joseph Hastings? It's easy to do it. You can do it at BamaInsider.com. And right now, if you sign up, it's just $1 for an entire year. That really is amazing to me. I thought, well, maybe it's $1 a month. No, it's entirely $1 for the whole year. Even someone like me can afford that. And I know you guys can as well. Now that Bama Insider is with On3, you guys got to be there with us as well. And as you can tell, we've got a guy on the scene, including number 1 Alabama, number 1 Georgia, the two best teams in the state, Buford and Thompson playing, and you were there on the sideline. So make sure that you guys go to BamaInsider.com and sign up right now, $1 for an entire year. All right, look, we saw it today with the commitment of Hill, right? Who are you expecting to be the next guy that's going to commit? Or who's some guys that we can keep an eye on and maybe get the idea that they're going to be coming Alabama's way sometime soon?
So the primary Alabama target with a commitment date right now is Jordan Renaud. Makari Vickers is going to be announcing on August 26th, but the Crimson Tide's defensive back room has really added a lot of talent. I think Oklahoma is pressing a little bit harder here, so I expect the Sooners to come out on top for him. But the next guy we're paying attention to is Jordan Renaud. He's got a commitment date set for September 19th. We'll choose between Alabama and Oklahoma, taking an official visit to Oklahoma the second weekend of September. So all eyes will be on him. We'll be paying close attention to him. Alabama would love to get him in this class. Like, once again, I mentioned the misses of Kelby Collins and Peter Woods. Renaud is just a guy who adds and makes up for those losses. And you see his rankings there, just a consensus top 60 overall player, listed as an edge there. He's pretty interesting because with his frame, he could play edge, but you could also see him packing on some more pounds and developing into a pure hands in the dirt defensive end at the next level. But Alabama would love to get him in this class. They've been pursuing him hard. I still have my prediction in there. That's why the RPM is 96.5% for Alabama, but we're going to really be paying close attention to that Oklahoma official visit. And some other guys to watch out for: Centarian Perkins, Ole Miss linebacker commitment. It's we brought him up on the last show, and we talked about how the social media changes that he had seemed to indicate that he was going to be flipping to Alabama last month. He ended up switching his profile picture back to him in an Ole Miss uniform, doesn't have anything Alabama related in at the top of his profile, and then also welcomed the new addition for the Rebels there. So he's somebody that we're still going to be paying attention to. The reason why the RPM has it 94% is that I still have my prediction in for Perkins. It's going to be a little bit of an interesting battle. Mississippi recruitments tend to be that way, but I still have Alabama coming out top for him, and who knows when that could happen. So he's kind of to be determined. The big name to pay attention to that Alabama fans are hoping to get in this class and the commits to is Keon Keeley. Keon Keeley recently decommitted from Notre Dame. I talked about on the show last week that I was waiting on a notification. I was waiting on that Keon Keeley decommitment notification. We knew that it was going to be coming, expected it to be Monday, but it ended up being Wednesday. And, he remains a huge target for the Crimson Tide. They're going to be getting him on campus for an official visit the weekend of the Texas A&M game. He's taking an official visit to Ohio State the first weekend of September, when coincidentally enough they're playing Notre Dame. So we'll see we'll see how those visits work out for him. He may end up taking an official visit to Florida as well, but I like where Alabama stands. I think he likes the SEC. He's attracted to the idea of playing in the SEC. He loves Alabama's player development, the coaching staff. They've kind of put on the full court press for him from a coaching staff and recruits perspective. You look at Richard Young. As soon as Edric Hill committed to Alabama, Young quote tweeted it and said, Keon Keeley, you're next. The commitments that I spoke with this past weekend, the first name that came out of their mouths when I asked them who they're recruiting for Alabama, Keon Keeley, all 4 of them. Justice Haynes even, we posted on the BamaInsider YouTube channel a message that Justice Haynes had for Keon Keeley. So I think all of that momentum is building up for the Crimson Tide, and I'm not expecting the commitment anytime soon, but I would think that after that official visit to Alabama, you'll start to hear some whispers.
That was for you guys in the comments section. Jonathan, Mike Coleman, always believe in Bama. You guys wanted to know about Keeley, and there you go. That's an update there from Joseph Hastings. All right, final thing before we get to Jimmy Stein and talk a little bit more Alabama and Utah State and the build up to that. One more last recruiting question for you this week. Where are you going to be this Friday night? And are there any Saturday games this week or Thursday games?
There are no Thursday or Saturday night games on my schedule. I actually will be going to St. Thomas Aquinas to see American Heritage versus Los Alamitos. I have some big time players there, but that's not Alabama related. That's On3 related coverage. But for BamaInsider, I will be covering Richard Young's upcoming game on Friday night against Naples. Very excited about that matchup. Richard Young is somebody that I've got to see in person a couple of times. He's just a dominating presence, at the running back position. Not necessarily somebody who's going to wow you from a pass catching perspective, but he combines speed and strength to really just overwhelm opposing defenders. He's pretty much a bully out there on the football field. One of the more physically developed prospects in this class at his position. And I'm interested to see the 2 different playing styles of both Haynes and Young, seeing them in back-to-back weeks. So you can expect highlights from the game, analysis, both written and spoken, as well after. And we're hoping to catch up with Young and talk about his pursuit of Keon Keeley, because out of all the commits in this class, he's been the most vocal one about getting Keeley to join the Crimson Tide. So I'm very excited about this upcoming game.
At Joseph A. Hastings on Twitter. Anything else that people that are watching right now need to know to follow you and what you're working on?
Not too much. Just go to at Joseph A. Hastings on Twitter. Go to the Talk of Champions message board on BamaInsider.com. If you're not a member and can't read the message board, don't worry. Like you've said, it's only $1 for a year. $1 for 1 year. That's as good of a deal as you're gonna get. So, just short of that would be free. So be sure to join us, and we'd love to talk with you guys, especially with big time commitment in Edric Hill and all the Keon Keeley speculation. The message board is really active, and we'd love to talk with you guys there.
There's not much you can get anymore for $1, but you can get a year of BamaInsider.com. And I'm telling you, with On3 and Bama Insider teaming up, it really is worth it. Joseph, awesome talking. Let's do it again next Monday night.
Mick, can't wait for it, and can't wait to talk about Richard Young with you next week.
All right. Have a safe week, and we enjoy all the videos, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Again, one more time. It's $1, limited time, BamaInsider.com, On3. You can join for $1. It's $1 for an entire year. And our show's brought to you by Westgate Luxury Condominiums. It's the official home of Monday Night Quarterback, and it's also the official home of our post-game show. So when Alabama plays on Saturday, we'll be here after the game talking about it, breaking things down. We'll hear from Nick Saban, all of that, including your calls every Saturday. And when we're at home, we do it from the Skygate Club at Westgate Luxury Condominiums. All right, let's bring him on. Our final guest tonight on Monday Night Quarterback, a guy that's been following the Crimson Tide for a long, long time. And I said that about myself too. So, I've been around a long time too, Jimmy. But you actually trump me. So that's why I love having you on here, so we can talk perspective. But first off, how you been, and what's your takeaways on this latest scrimmage?
Well, doing great. Appreciate the opportunity to be on. Following Joseph Hastings is a little bit like, batting after Shohei Ohtani or something. Who sets me up following Hastings. That's a lose-lose situation, but I'm doing great. Yeah, I've been following it for a while. I'm sort of an encyclopedia of Alabama football in the sense that encyclopedias have been around for a long time too.
I remember when they were paper.
I wrote the first one, but
Yeah, right. Well, what's your takeaways on the first the first scrimmage was last Saturday. The second, and I guess the last scrimmage, right? We're only doing 2, was this Saturday. Right. Your takeaways?
Well, I think, from Coach Saban's comments, the best thing you can hope for, guys, is that the first team dominates. And by that, I mean the first team offense does well, the first team defense does well. And that's apparently exactly what happened. The first team offense did really well. First team defense did really well, even to the point that Coach Saban was complaining a little bit about the second team. But that's exactly who you want him complaining about, right? We're not playing Utah State with the second team. You're playing Utah State and Texas with the first team. And I thought from all comments, all reports, that the first team performed exceptionally well on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and the second team, no worries at all. I mean, he seemed to be kind of hard on them, talked about players making mistakes or getting beat on a play and then coming back and forgetting about it. So it sounds like some guys were kind of making mistake after mistake. Just because if something happens, a lot of these guys get into games, and sometimes it's not as early as you really want.
Right. Well, I think in terms of comments about the second team, if you're an alarmist, yeah, you can find something to be negative about. Now, I think if Alabama had some issues insofar as the depth, you get some injuries with that first team, maybe it could be an issue. Also, remember this: who comprises the second team in scrimmages right now? A lot of young players who are only in their second scrimmage, for number one. Number two, as we all know, there's been a handful of injuries, right? There's some injuries on the offensive line. There's some injuries on defense, particularly at cornerback. So what happens is maybe when there's some injuries, a couple of guys get elevated from the 2s to the 1s,
right?
The 2s, and now you've got some 3s playing with the 2s. That's really going to cause some issues. So I think youth is a big thing insofar as that second team. But again, you're playing Utah State with the starters. You're playing Utah State with first team guys, and that's who Coach Saban was sort of, I wouldn't say bragging on, but Coach Saban seemed pretty pleased with several members of both the first team offense and the first team defense. So I'm not too concerned about what he said about the second team. He's got to complain about something, and if he's going to complain about a unit, trust me, I want him complaining about those guys, not the first team. If the takeaway was, gosh, the first team offense and first team defense couldn't get anything done against that second group, then we would call this Monday night panic, not Monday night quarterback.
Look, you and I have lived through the bad years, so we're not panicking at all. I mean, we've been there and done that, and I know that there's people that are on here right now that don't remember when Alabama would lose even a game like this against Utah State. But that's where this program is right now. Guys, like and subscribe, share with your friends as you hang out with us here on Monday Night Quarterback, and we start to get you ready for game week, which is next week, and then the first game of the season, which is on Saturday. Let's talk some position battles with Jimmy Stein. The secondary, how's it playing out? And it seems like it's an abundance of riches back there. It's not like there's one guy that's not playing well, but another guy isn't playing well and they can't figure it out. It feels like there's a lot of guys that they're going to have to figure out a way to get on the field because they're all pushing for playing time.
Well, first of all, it's a really experienced group. I mean, when you look at, let's start with the safeties. Brian Branch has been basically playing since he was a freshman. He's a junior. He starts at the star position. Malachi Moore looks like right now he's going to be the sixth defensive back. That's what you'd project today. He's been a starter, basically playing with the first team since he was a freshman. They're the guys off the bench in terms of when you go to the nickel package, when you go to the dime package. The actual starters that are out there for all packages are Jordan Battle and DeMarco Helms. They have been starting in those positions for a couple of years, and now they're seniors. Both of them have been playing since their freshman season. So you're talking about a very experienced group of four safeties, the two starters and the two guys that come off the bench at playing substitution patterns. So you look at cornerback, and there you have a little bit of an issue, but keep this in mind. Kool-Aid McKinstry started 4 games last year, including both of the playoff games. That makes him experienced. Now, it's not a world of experience, but it's, he's started games on the biggest stage against great players. And then across from him, you could have an Eli Ricks, who was named a first-team All-American by the Associated Press today. Kind of funny, considering he's not really on the first team at Alabama right now. A lot of that is related to injury, not necessarily performance. But Eli Ricks has been already starting in this league for 2 years. And Kyrie Jackson started at least the national championship game last year, got some crucial experience there. So that's 7 defensive backs, Mick, who have started SEC football games and played well. But as of right now, Kyrie's got a minor issue, keeps him off the first team. Eli Ricks had a shoulder, now he's got a back, and he's still learning the defense, so he's not on the first team. So right now, the only inexperienced projected starter is Terrion Arnold. He redshirted a year ago, has not played in a college football game, so he is inexperienced. But when you look at the talent, well, he was a 5-star, like so many of the Nick Saban guys, and it wouldn't shock anyone that Terrion Arnold is very good right off the jump. So today, if we had to play a game tomorrow, Mick, I think it would be Kool-Aid at one corner and Terrion Arnold at the other, while Kyrie continues to improve health-wise and Ricks continues to improve health-wise and learn the defense. So it's pretty deep in terms of guys who have played, and every reason in the world to be excited about the defensive backfield.
Oh, no doubt about it. Hanging out with us, guys. We appreciate you to be here tonight on Monday Night Quarterback. This is part of Bama Insider on 3. Like, subscribe, share, and don't forget you can join and check Jimmy out and all the work he does on the message board for $1. Just give it a try. $1 for an entire year of the best coverage, Alabama coverage in the game with the best of the best on 3 Network. That's $1, BamaInsider.com. All right, let's talk about kickoff returns. JoJo Earle, I figured he was going to be the guy, right? Maybe punts and kicks, right? Well, he's out. Right. So now who are we looking at returning punts and kicks?
Well, losing JoJo Earle was a blow. You know, we've heard Nick Saban even talk publicly since the injury. You can tell Nick Saban misses JoJo Earle. Had some experience last year. He's a guy the coaching staff really likes. Looks like he'll be out till at least around October 1st, from what I hear. Maybe October 1st, maybe a game after that. But in the meantime, it looks like replacing him will be Kool-Aid McKinstry. Kool-Aid was a very explosive punt returner in high school, very good with the ball in his hands. As a matter of fact, Mick, I had more than one high school coach tell me that it was a mistake to play Kool-Aid on defense, not because he wasn't a great defensive back prospect, but because he was so good with the ball in his hands. So Kool-Aid has a lot of potential. The main thing is that he catch the ball. You know, I know some fans were frustrated last year when Slade Bolden would be out there because Slade, despite returning many punts in his career at Alabama, never housed one, right? Well, the most important thing a punt returner can do is catch the ball. Slade was really good at that. That's all Kool-Aid really needs to do to kind of hold down the fort until JoJo gets there. But at the same time, I think what we're going to see is Kool-Aid do quite well. Again, explosive in high school. We know he's a good athlete. I suspect he'll catch the ball well, and that's why he's leading the race to replace JoJo, at least for the first 4 or 5 games.
What about Jahmyr Gibbs? Is he someone that Nick Saban could go to return punts and kickoffs?
I believe Gibbs will be the kickoff returner. For whatever reason, Gibbs, even at Georgia Tech, was never really the main punt returner. I'm not sure what his experience is with that, but as a kick returner, he is an All-American level player. He has returned kicks for touchdowns at Georgia Tech. He's the primary kick returner right now. He'll be out there game 1, kick 1, I have no doubt, and I will not be surprised at all if we see him put a couple in the end zone this year. As a matter of fact, Mick, I'll go ahead and put the over-under on touchdown return, kickoff touchdown returns from Gibbs at 2. And if I'm setting the number at 2 and someone forced me to bet, I would go the over. Gibbs is an outstanding kick returner. Again, not sure as a punt returner that he's in the mix, but today, Gibbs a kick returner, Kool-Aid the punt returner.
Ran into a guy that played for Louisiana Tech in '92, and he was talking about Deuce and that kick that he returned to help Alabama win a national championship. And it got me thinking, this would be a good question for us to ponder on before I let you go tonight. The best Alabama kick returner, in your opinion, or give me a couple guys that you remember watching over the year. I mean, it's going to be Deuce Palmer's as good as it gets.
Yeah, it's Palmer for me. He's not only, I think, the best punt returner in school history and the best kick returner in school history. A lot of people don't know this. He's the all-time punt returner in Minnesota Vikings history. He had that 7 years and still leads the Vikings in all-time punt return yardage. I'd hoped a little better for his NFL career as a receiver, but as a returner, David Palmer's the best I've ever seen. Alabama's been blessed with several good ones. A couple guys were so good at it and got hurt. I remember Kerry Good in the early 80s, unbelievable kick returner. Of course, had a knee injury, set him back. I thought Prothro was an excellent return man. Javier Arenas was an excellent punt returner. But I don't care what the stats say, Mick, and I know you're around to see it. Anyone that saw David Palmer return punts and kicks probably doesn't have a different answer. It's Palmer. Those people that are focused just on the numbers that didn't see Palmer play, they might have another answer, and that's okay because I'm a numbers guy myself. But I saw David Palmer with my own eyes, so he's my answer.
Yeah, I've run into Tennessee fans and former players, and same thing with Louisiana Tech. And when they say that name, they're never really happy about it. But it almost you have to smile. He was that much of a difference maker. So hopefully someone on this team will step up and kind of be able to do similar things. I don't know if they'll ever be Deuce, but who knows? I mean, the way that things have gone for Alabama lately, they'll find someone even better. It's been amazing watching what Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide have accomplished during this dynasty. All right, where can people check out your work? I know it's QB Country on Twitter. And what are you working on right now?
I have been working on a series that I'm having a blast doing both, and I think people reading them have liked it. One series that seems to be pretty popular is I'm sort of breaking down the team by rooms. By that, I mean, when the team meets with their assistant coaches, they meet in rooms. There's the running back room and the quarterback room and the wide receiver room led by an assistant coach. There's a total of 10 rooms, because there's 10 assistant coaches. They all have their rooms. And I'm sort of breaking down what I consider the first team and the backups, right? It's kind of like a pecking order. It's easy to call it a depth chart. I prefer pecking order. The one I'm working on right now that will be out very soon, if not by the end of late this evening, is the wide receiver room. There's 13 wide receivers on scholarship. I'm not breaking it down who's with the first team. I'm kind of breaking it down 1 through 13 with some cutoffs about, hey, I think this will be about where you see the first group, and then the next group will be who you'll see late in games. And this final group you won't see much of either because they're not in the picture or they're redshirting. So I'm working on that. And I'm also slowly working on a playoff prediction. And by that, I mean, I predicted wins and losses for the entire Pac-12. I did it for the Big 12. The next one to come out, probably in the morning, will be the Big 10. And after I do the Power 5 and one group of 5 group, we'll have a one-loss record for everybody. And at the end, in the 7th part of that series, I'll make an official playoff prediction.
Awesome. Well, always great hanging out with you, Jimmy. Keep up the good work. We'll talk to you in the message board. And again, guys, $1, you can sign up for BamaInsider.com now that we're with On3. And if you're in that message room, you're going to run into this guy right here, Jimmy Stein.
That's right. Love the message board. Love talking to all the subscribers. We have a high level of discourse over there. I love how everybody's taking the football and the sport super serious. There's like real serious football discussion all day long over there. And I love it. I'm there for hours a day, posting thoughts, posting scoop, posting my opinion about things, but mostly just discussing. And let me tell you, I read some opinions today from some subscribers, changed my mind on a couple of things. It's just a great back and forth. And you get Hastings there, you get Bone there, you get Lamb there. It's fun. It's fun for me to do it every day for hours.
Awesome. Well, we'll catch you on there. And again, thank you. And let's do it again next Monday.
Thanks so much, Mick.
All right. That's Jimmy Stein talking Alabama Crimson Tide football. And guys, most importantly, thank all of you in the comments section. Mike Coleman, I see you. I saw Buck in there tonight. L-Dub, look, all you guys that have been hanging out, we appreciate it. Thumbs up, subscribe. Hit the like button. Tell your friends about us. Share this channel. Bama Insider YouTube channel is all about you. And now that we're with On3, it's like taking the best and moving it with the best. And isn't that what Alabama is all about? I mean, look, the offense has to go against the defense every day, and being with On3 that's what our goal is, to bring the best to the best. So, guys, we appreciate it because you're certainly the reason why this channel has become such a mega power. We got a bunch of stuff coming up tomorrow. I'll get together with Andrew Bone. We'll talk more recruiting tomorrow night with Bone. We got anything going on with Nick Saban. We'll have the press conferences when he talks, when the players talk. We'll have that as well. And if there's any breaking news, we'll be covering that here as well. So make sure that you hang out with us here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Special thanks to the guy that makes it all happen, Kyle Henderson, and for Chris Daughtry behind the screen and our entire crew today, which was Clint Lamb, Joseph Hastings, and Jimmy Stein. I'm Mick Gillispie. Roll Tide, everybody. Remember, Monday Night Quarterback, we'll do it each Monday throughout the season, and I look forward to talking to you next week because it'll be game week.